It's kind of cloudy today. Today is Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. It is 1:30 p.m. Eastern Central Time. Oh, it looks like it's going to rain again. It's raining. I wanted to come and talk to you all. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hope all is well with you. I want to talk about B.Simone. She has a YouTube channel and other social media platforms. But she talked to Dr. Bryant. I'm not all the way done. I'm only like halfway into the interview. They did it. She posted a video that she did with Dr. Bryant about a week ago. So it's on her channel. I will link that video in my description to this video. But she talks about mother wounds. And it's very relatable. Me and her situation is different, but I can relate, and many women can relate. So if you have a mother wound, don't feel ashamed. There's other people who can definitely relate to you. So if you don't know, a mother wound is basically, I'm going to link any information that I found in my description. I want to give you guys a better definition of it. So a mother wound is the concept of the mother wound refers to the psychological impacts that arises from an individual's relationship with their mother. This wound can be caused by various factors: physical or emotional neglect, basically when the mother fails to provide comfort, recognition, or emotional support, causing feelings of isolation and abandonment. It also can include abuse, such as verbal, physical, or emotional abusive behaviors. It could affect the child's understanding of love, trust, and relationships, leaving you with questions like, am I good enough? Why am I not deserving? And so B.Simone is on there. She's very emotional. Like I said, I'm not finished watching it, but I'm so glad that someone with a platform like hers is coming out and talking about it. With B.Simone's situation, like I said, I'm only halfway in, but I think like her mom couldn't handle her children, so she had them live with the father. It's looking like the mom may have been on maybe drugs, possibly. This is what I'm getting from it. So allegedly the mom was on drugs and possibly has some mental health issues. B.Simone is not ready to talk about what caused her mother to not be like there for her, but it's the way she's talking, the wording she's using is looking like it has to do with drugs, like I said, or mental health. So B.Simone is really emotional talking about it because it's like it's something that she's still processing and trying to deal with. And I can relate to that, but I am so thankful for being in therapy, or counseling. I have finally gotten to the point in my life, because I also have a mother wound, obviously, that's why I'm talking about it, where I don't let it hold me down anymore. Like, I had to finally accept that my mother is the person that she is. I lived with years of trying to this fantasy of who I thought my mom should be or what a mother should be, and trying to compare her versus other moms, and it's just she was never living up to it. So I had to really just accept my mother for who she is and let her be who she is. That doesn't mean I condone any of her behaviors. It doesn't mean I forgive anything. It's just that you are who you are, and I am done trying to change who I think you should be in my mind. Like, the reality is, you are who you are. You did what you did. You were the kind of parent you were, and it affected me as a child. And you try to give people grace for having their own mental health issues or their own drug issues. In my situation, there was no drug use that I've known. It just seems like it's just mental health and just generational curses. It appears from my experience that my mother had some type of mother wound, but I don't know the details because some mothers fail to discuss their childhood with you. And so it's hard to really kind of understand people when they fail to tell you things, or you just don't know information. You can only gather from what you see and what you've heard. But I feel like at some point people do need to keep it real with their children. But some people don't want to feel shameful, or they don't want to express their shame. And then there are people who are narcissists who have a certain image to uphold. Micah Phelan, welcome to the chat. You said I just got my pet hamster pregnant. What do you mean by that? Are you mean like by another hamster? Anyway, this is not what the chat is about, but thanks for stepping in. I hope you are being appropriate with your pets. No animal abuse over here. Let's see. So like Dr. Bryant was saying that you have to accept reality and basically forget fantasy. Like your parent or your mother, will not be the person that you wanted. They're not going to be the cookie cutter parent who bakes cookies and is like, I love you, and hugs and kisses and tucks you in at night and do all the things you saw on TV or you saw your other friends having. Like, even though as a child, I feel like you are entitled to a loving parent, all that good stuff, which everybody can agree. Every child born is I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It's not fair that a child doesn't get the parent that they are supposed to get. But it's still not the child's fault. And I feel like society has kind of groomed us to say, hey, it's your mother. You must love her no matter what, no matter if she cusses at you, no matter if she yells at you. Society, I feel like, has groomed us to, like I said, accept our mothers for who they are no matter what, and like no accountability. And I'm not down for that. So it's okay to accept someone for who they are, but I'm not going to be okay with you thinking that that behavior is appropriate. And so if someone is not going to change or be the person you want them to be, you have a right to remove yourself from their life. And B.Simone was basically being careful with her words because she's not completely ready with certain topics yet. Like I said, I'm only halfway in the interview, but it's like she was kind of fearful that her truth will make other people upset, and I can relate to that. And Dr. Bryant said, basically, it's like you feel like your truth causes chaos. It'll ruin the fantasy that you live in. It will make you uncomfortable. Telling the truth is uncomfortable sometimes. But when you have to, like, honestly get to a place in life where you don't care what people think. Like, I have to do me. You did you, you're doing you, and I'm doing me. Like, if telling your truth brings you peace, if it brings you comfort, do what you have to do. You can do it on your own terms. But you cannot be afraid of people really being upset with you telling your experience from your life. So someone could say, well, I didn't experience that. That didn't happen to me. Well, you weren't in my shoes. Like, a parent can have 10 children, right? All living under the same roof and all having the same father and mother, but all 10 could honestly experience a different parent. The parent may have given one child undivided attention, love, affection, hugs, and kisses, and another child was ignored, neglected, or blamed for things. Like, it's unfortunate. I think sometimes children trigger parents, and instead of healing, the parent just continues to act from a place of trauma, the way they talk to their child, the way they treat their children. Until you do heal, you're going to pass on your childhood wounds to your child, which cause a mother wound. I have come a long way on my journey. Like I said, I have a mother wound, and it appears that my mother had a mother wound, and I'm trying to diminish or reduce the likelihood that my daughter will have a mother wound, because it's a horrible feeling. We all make mistakes, and especially when you're early in your parenting, sometimes you don't know what you're doing. Sometimes you make mistakes, but at some point you need to learn from your mistakes. Be honest with your children. Don't be dismissive. You have to give children space to be who they are. Like, just how parents, I feel like, want children to accept everything about them. Parents want children to accept that they yell or scream or they're mean or they have an attitude. Like, we don't make space for children to have their own attitudes, to have their own moods, to be unhappy sometimes. Like, they have feelings too. But that podcast episode seems really good. Like I said, I'm only halfway through. I'm not all the way done. I'm going to watch the whole thing, but I'm going to be honest with you. Some of the wording, and I'm trying to focus on just the psychological part of it and not the religious part of it, because they are like quoting Bible scriptures and they're praying, they're talking about God. I'm not religious, so I kind of wish sometimes people would realize that not everyone who is consuming your information is a religious person, and I wish people would take it out of it, but I can't tell you what to do, right? But I wish people do educational podcasts and stuff like that from a neutral point of view, as if the person is not religious. But like to this put religion and everything is just kind of off-putting, especially when I basically feel like I have a religious wound. My mother, for example, and my family, very religious people, but some of the most toxic people. So it's like it's like, they say one thing but they do another. And I was just looking at this video that I saw on Instagram. It was like a reel, and the guy was talking about how some religious people are so like they're like huge narcissists. They wear this mask and they hide behind their religion, but they're like not living up to those things that they say they are. And that's really hard for a child to understand, because imagine you're a child and you're going to church, prayer, preach, all these things. Your parent is praying, your parent is on their knees crying, begging for Jesus forgiveness, begging this and that, and they come home and they're a whole nother thing to you. So it's like narcissistic parents, or in this case like a mother, is just like a hypocrite, showing the public that side of you, and everyone thinks that your parent is so great, your mother's so great, but they don't live with that person. Until you know someone, you don't really know someone. Until you live with someone, you don't really know someone. So you could say this person seemed like this kind of person, and some people tend to be shocked when the truth comes out about a person. Like, hey, no, she's not this person, or this is what I've been experiencing. It's like they don't want to believe it, because like, no, that can't be true. She was never like that to me. Oh, she's so nice. She's so sweet. So that's a whole nother wound right there. Like I said before, being raised in a situation where you're, as a child, is taught to like turn the other cheek or obey your parents, and they can't do no wrong. It's hard to be honest with yourself when it comes to talking about your mother wound, because it's like that guilt of like what you were taught. You know what I'm saying? The mother wound is something deep. And if anybody is listening or watching, if you can relate, leave a comment. Have you seen the B.Simone interview with Dr. Bryant? I really like Dr. Bryant because she has really been getting popular with interviews with like Nick Cannon and that other retired football player. I forgot the dude's name. I forgot the man's name. But I love that, especially people of color, black people, are on a platform talking about mother wounds. Like I said, I feel like in the black community, like the mother can do no wrong. It's always, the mother is always held at such a high regard. And so when you do come against the mother, when you do talk like not in a positive light, it's like, how could you talk about your mother? That's your mother. That's your mother. You only have one mother. Or, oh, it wasn't so bad. Or I went through the same thing. Or I had it worse. Like, I hate when people try to minimize people's experiences. It's not fair. If you have not walked in someone's shoes, you cannot tell people how to feel. If you're not that person, you can't tell them how to feel about their own mother, their own parent. Like, they live that life. But back to the mother wound, like I experienced a lot of emotional neglect. You know, I didn't develop a close bond because it wasn't established. It's very important when a child is young to establish that bond, to have that connection. Like once that bond is broken, sometimes it could be unrepairable. But some mothers are so caught up in their own wounds, their own traumas, their own life, their own everything, that they neglect the child. They forget about the child, like the child does not matter. And people don't think about their choices until they're older in life, and then their child is choosing not to be involved with them, or their child is finally keeping it real with how childhood really was. Like, it wasn't this fantasy that you tried to portray to others. This is the reality. You were neglectful or you were abusive. And a lot of parents don't know how to be accountable for their actions. They want to say, oh, I did the best I could. It wasn't that bad. Oh, you're still thinking about that? Parents need to give space for children to be honest with them about their experiences. That's me included. That's me included. Even if it takes you a while to really sink in. Maybe at first, maybe at the first time you're hearing your child be honest with you about how they feel about you, it's shocking. It's like you feel bad, you feel guilty, but you got to like breathe it, breathe and let it sink in. Like, if you're being honest, there are areas you could improved on, right? And like for the religious mothers, the ones who bend down in their knees and they pray and they ask Jesus for forgiveness, this and that, I will never understand how that same mother cannot get on their knee and ask their child for forgiveness. Someone in the chat, make it make sense for me. I would love for someone to make it make sense. How can someone pray or ask a fictitious character for forgiveness, but they can't ask their child who is in their face, flesh and blood, who is alive, who's there, who they can touch and feel and hear? Why can't parents ask their child for that same forgiveness they asked Jesus for? I would love to understand that. And that's a part of the reason why I'm not religious anymore, because I've seen so much hypocrisy in my life. I've seen so many fake prophets and fake people that it's like I could see the fakeness from a mile away. There are, and it's not this is not a religious bashing. There's great people in every religion and there's bad people in every religion. But my experience, I'm talking about the ones who were hypocrites, the one who say one thing and they did another thing, the ones who neglected their children. And I feel like people give parents way too much credit sometimes, like, oh, you never went hungry, or oh, you have somewhere to live, or oh, you look so nice, you were always presentable. But people neglect the child within. Like, the emotional needs were neglected, and that's really important. Like, I always joke and say, like, I would rather had maybe been not so fortunate with food and clothes, but have a loving parent like by your side, knowing that they have your back no matter what. I will never know what it feels like to have a mother that had my back all the way. Like, things have always been second guessed. I've always been gaslit, maybe feel like I'm crazy and something's wrong with me. I think some parents feel like because they were physically there that you should give them credit and cookies for that. But if you weren't actually there for me, like emotionally, when times I cried, times that I needed you, then you didn't do your job all the way. Like, hello, Sasha, not Sacha, not Sasha. Fact. Thank you so much for joining the chat. As you can see, I'm talking about the mother wound. I'm halfway through the B.Simone interview with Dr. Bryant. I'm tearing up a little bit already, and I really appreciate B.Simone for posting that. I'm gonna finish watching, and I'm gonna go live again about everything that I watch. But Dr. Bryant is very smart. She's very educated. It's a harsh reality, but we have to like live in reality. Like, we can't be in the fantasy of the mother that we wanted, the mother that we needed. So if you are a mother, all you can do is try to be the mother that you never had, the mother that you needed. And that's what I'm trying to do. I have made my mistakes as a mom. I will never lie about that. I will never go around like I'm this ideal mom. You know what I'm saying? Especially as a single mom, I had a hard time. But there were certain things I knew that I didn't want my child to experience. And there's things that I could always grow on. But one thing I do try my best is to be there for my children. I try to go hard for them because I didn't have people going hard for me, you know. So I might come off a little bit rough on the edges, but overall my heart and my intentions are pure. And I'm just trying to impress my inner child, the one that wasn't protected, to show them that I got you now. You don't have nothing to worry about. I'm there for you. No one was there, but I'm there for you. So I do that for my inner child and my children. It's just very important for a child to feel like someone is there and has their back. Ride or die. Like, I just want to be a ride or die parent. Obviously, you can't coddle your children. If they're wrong, you need to let them know. You know what I'm saying? But it's the way you do it. You can't come down hard and like screaming and yelling about everything. You have to literally talk to your children, not at them. I had to learn that too, because I was talked at. I wasn't talked to. It was always screaming, "Ah," and the message wasn't getting through. So I had to learn that in order for me to get through to my children, I have to really talk and just lead by example. Like, you just do your best. And if you're having a bad day, if you mess up, admit to your fault. I grew up with the parents that didn't admit fault. It was like unheard of. I never heard I'm sorry. I never heard I made a mistake. I never heard how can I make this right? How can I do this better? Never. Never in my life have I heard that. And it's unfortunate that my mother was raised harsh in a rough life, but it's still not my fault that it wasn't my burden to carry. It wasn't my burden to carry. Like, I hate that your mother or your father treated you the way they did and what you had to go through, but it was never my fault. So please take that burden with you. Don't give it to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to pass that on to my child. And it's very important to be open with your children about what you went through. Obviously, you're going to spare them with like graphic details if you know what I'm saying? But you got to be real with your children. Make them know that you're human. You make mistakes. They can relate to you. I never felt like my mother was a human. Like, I felt like she was just like this fictitious character that I would see. But it was never no deepness, no depth to it. Like B.Simone was saying, like, this was making me tear up a little bit. She was talking about how she'll never be able to go on vacation with her mom and go on a trip and go to brunch. I'm not saying I never went on a vacation with my mom, but it didn't feel natural. It didn't feel normal. It felt weird. It was just something I did to say I did it. But it wasn't like, hey girl, it wasn't like mother-daughter bonding. It wasn't like best friends, BFFs. It was just kind of awkward. But it's very important to establish a good relationship with your child when they're young. So when they're older, it won't be awkward. It will be natural. And you have to worry about them telling you all these things that you didn't know about. Like, you should know the most things about your child. Yes, children are not gonna tell you everything. Obviously, they got friends and whatever reason why. But if you know nothing about your child, you can't relate to them at all. Like, you're doing your child a disservice. To this, not Sasha, says, till this day, I feel like I don't even know my mother. And I feel you. I feel the same way. I don't, it's like a stranger, and sometimes I feel like when I was talking to my mom, like when I do talk to her, it just feels like it's nothing there. Like, are you alive? It's just dead inside. Some people are so wounded that they can't even be present. So it's like they have nothing to offer you. They're just like an empty vessel. And until they fill themselves up with something, with healing. And I used to really be like, well, I'm, like, I really would wish healing on people, but some people are not just going to heal. Some people refuse to heal. Some people refuse to get counseling. So it's like you have to accept the reality that they will never change. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be at peace with that. You have to be okay with if you die today or your parent dies today, you have to be okay with that. They were who they were. You can't change the past. You have to really accept them and accept the situation for what it is. It's a hard pill to swallow. But the more you are real about it, that's how you'll heal. Living in a fantasy world is only going to break your heart. Because it's like you're just hoping, oh, am I going to hope she changes? I hope she does this. I hope she says, I'm sorry. I hope, like, she gets therapy. But she probably is never going to get it. Like, she ain't do it yet, baby girl. She's not going to do it again. Especially when they're, like, really older. The boomers in certain generations, they were raised to just work. And what's therapy? What's mental illness? What's that? That's for crazy people. What's wrong with you? You can't change people who have that kind of mindset. You have to be the one that does the healing. And with your own healing, you will be more accepting of who they are. You know what I'm saying? So the mother wound is a deep wound, and it doesn't get talked about enough. Because like B.Simone was saying, like, everybody she knows has a great relationship with their mom. It seems like the whole world has a great relationship with their mom. Like, oh, my mom is my best friend. We go shopping. My mom. When you have a mother wound, it's like you can't relate to that. It's just like You know, it's just, yeah, it's okay that you can't relate to others. Everybody has their own experience to live. You know what I'm saying? I had to mourn the relationship that I never had with my mom. I had to mourn the relationship that I'll never will have with my mom. And that has helped with my healing journey. Like, I finally, I'm okay with it. I wish it wasn't that way, but there's nothing I can do about it. You know what I'm saying? And don't worry about the people who can't relate to you, the ones who have, you know, great relationships with their mom. Like, I'm happy for them, but don't let anybody like, oh, that's your mother, you need to forgive, you need to do that. They try their best. Like, don't be okay with people forcing healing and forgiveness, I guess, on you. You have to do that on your own time. You know, normalize holding parents accountable for their actions. I don't care if it was 50 years ago. Okay. Sasha, not Sasha, says, I just know I have that relationship with my daughter. Yes, girl. Like, so I have one daughter and I'm trying my best to just be there for her. You know what I'm saying? I was in single mom mode, like early years, just, you know, loving on my daughter and everything. But sometimes you don't feel like you're present because you're just trying to get through life. And then just, you weren't raised a certain way. And then when you finally start to heal, you see that, hey, like, this is not how I should be living. Like, I want this kind of relationship. This is not healthy. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like me and my daughter have a good relationship. You know, yes, probably there's areas that can be improved on, but I don't, you got to leave space where they can feel like they can really talk to you. You got to give your child permission to tell you when you're wrong. A child should be able to check you like, no, mom, I don't like the way you talk to me. Mom, I don't like that. No, I don't want that. You know, my mom would do things like invade my personal space, you know, and I always try to give my daughter space. Like, oh, no, here you are. Privacy and space is so important, especially when a child has been violated. For their parent to not give them their own private space is very triggering. But yeah, I try to be the mother that I didn't have. And I have a teenager now. And so it's like, I know these are crucial years, critical years. You know, adulthood is knocking on the door one day soon. And I don't want my daughter to look back and say, I hated my mom, or I didn't have a good relationship with my mom, or my mom never changed. Like, I want my daughter to see that my mom grew. My mom kept it real with me. You know, this is what my mom been through, and I respect her for trying. You know what I'm saying? As parents, it's hard. We're never going to get everything right. But if you could go to sleep at night knowing that you did the best you can, especially as a mother with your child, you can't ask for nothing else. You know? That's all we can do is learn from our mother's mistakes, learn from our mistakes. Because if you're raised by a mother that wasn't loving, you may have some of her traits. You got to learn to undo those bad messages and images that you learned, because that's all you knew. I just remember always being like kind of jealous of other people who had good relationships with their mom. Like, I just couldn't relate. It took me years to be okay with talking about this, because people make you feel weird for not, like, you know what I'm saying, being this ideal mother-daughter relationships. But I'm not jealous of people anymore. Like, I'm happy for anyone who has a great relationship with their mom. Like, that's awesome. And like I said before, that's all I'm trying to do. I want my daughter to feel like she can talk to me, like, friendly. Obviously, you know, I'm a mother and I still got to be I got to have discipline with my children. But I want to feel like they can talk to me like, oh, I like this, I like that. This is what I'm doing. This is how I feel. You know, no one ever listened to me as a child. Like, so I felt unheard, and I just want my children to feel heard. Sasha, not Sasha, says facts. Yes, girl, it's real out here, and we just gotta normalize talking about it and just keeping it real. Like, it is what it is. And like Dr. Bryant was saying, sometimes you feel like telling your truth will cause chaos, and I don't care about the chaos anymore. I may not name names and show pictures, but I'm going to keep it real about my situation. And if that person ever asks me, yeah, I'm going to keep it real with you. Like, this is what I experienced with you. I didn't like it, and I'm going to tell my truth. People can't be mad at how they treated you. I mean, let me say it back. People can't be mad at how you react to how they treated you. You can't treat someone like crap or ignore them for their whole life and then wonder why they're not talking nicely about you, wonder why they're not talking to you, wondering why they're distancing themselves from you. I don't distance myself from people that I love and care about, that I feel good with. I only want to be around people. Anyway, I have to end the live, but I will come back later. I will come back later to talk about the rest of the interview. I will finish watching the B.Simone and Dr. Bryant interview. She posted it on her channel about a week ago. It's about mother wound, and it's a lot of women in the comments who can relate. I feel like I found my tribe. Like I said, there's a Facebook group I'm a part of about, you know, daughters of like narcissistic moms and abusive moms, stuff like that. It's a lot of women who can relate to me and who have mother wounds. So don't feel ashamed if you have a mother wound. Don't let nobody make you feel like you didn't do anything wrong. You were just born. You were born into the situation. You're trying to accept it for what it is. But I will be back later after I finish watching the interview. Thank you so much for stepping into my life. Thank you, Sacha, not Sasha, for your comments. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, I'll appreciate it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. My channel is about abuse survivors. I'm a survivor of childhood abuse, and I like to share videos about abuse, whether it's domestic violence, sexual abuse, childhood abuse, sex trafficking, just survivor stories. I'm a survivor, and I'm not giving up, okay? Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.